So hello and welcome to the 23rd episode of the Spotlight Podcast, the unofficial podcast for Century 21 sales representatives in Canada, where we discuss the hot topics and important news in the real estate industry. So I'm your host, Linas Kilius, and with me as always is Eryn Richardson.
Hi, Linas.
Hey, Eryn. So Eryn is a broker and general manager with Century 21 Heritage Group. Eryn has an extensive background in online marketing, technology, and customer service. And I'm the head of business development at the real estate marketing company, Homeania. So today we're going to talk about something that all agents want. Leads. Leads. The lifeblood of agents. Specifically, we're going to delve into some strategies on how to effectively get more leads. And perhaps more importantly, the best way to handle leads that you have coming in. And who better to talk to about this today than the man who probably has more agents asking for leads than any other in all of Century 21 Canada's family, Paul Barron. So Paul is the broker of record and owner of Century 21 Leading Edge Realty, the number one Century 21 firm in Canada for both production and units for the last 5 years. He heads 9 branch offices and 6 satellite offices with over 680 sales representatives and brokers located throughout Toronto and the surrounding areas. So Paul, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
So I hit close to home there. How often do you have agents coming to you asking for leads? I imagine quite a bit.
I think every day.
Every day. I'm sure Eryn's probably in pretty much the same boat being in management at Heritage Group as well, right, Eryn?
Yeah, it's the big component of the job for sure.
Okay, well, why don't we start off, since you're both in management for Century 21 firms, what is the typical way that you have set up at your offices to try and feed leads to agents? Do you guys have any sort of way that you get these leads to the agents and try and cultivate leads? So Paul, how about we start with you? Is there anything that you do in particular?
Sure. So I think that, also when you look at the idea of leads, it's probably the number one reason that agents start shopping around for different brokerages, that they believe that leads is the key to their business. And I think it is. It's just you got to dig a little bit deeper than just the leads. So we have, obviously, the Century 21 website is one of our prime areas of lead generation. But we also, as a company, we buy leads and generate leads ourselves as a company through Google AdWords, Facebook ads, and also purchasing ads from various different companies.
Yeah. And Eryn, how about you guys? Do you guys do some similar tactics as well to try and increase the number of leads you can farm out to agents?
Yeah, it's the same idea. We've tried all the different paid. And personally, even when I sold, I was doing a lot of the paid stuff. So we can talk a little bit about that and the successes of that. But Facebook ads, Google ads, as well as having an in-house lead generation coordinator now with us. And we've done that in the past as well to try and coordinate and convert some of the leads over to the agents.
All right, well, I don't want you guys giving too many of your internal secrets away or anything, so let's move away from that topic and just kind of move along. Paul mentioned that you guys use online office to try and generate leads and use that as a source of lead generation for your agents. Now, do you think are a lot of agents using online office to its full potential? I mean, this is a Century 21 podcast, so most of our listeners are going to be with the Century 21 family. Are they using it to their full potential? Is it some place that agents could probably invest a little bit more time into, especially since it's a free service, right? What do you think, Paul?
Yeah. Sure. So, I think when you look at the adoption of the Century 21 website, we probably have around half of the people that work at Leading Edge that have adopted and utilized the site to a certain degree. When you look at lead generation, obviously the Century 21 site is provided to these agents at no charge. And with the advent of IDX, there is a huge amount of really qualified leads. So leads that are coming in, I want to see this house, which is one of the best type of leads that you can get. And those are available with online office. Unfortunately, a lot of agents never looked at their Century 21 email, don't actually capture these leads. So it's something that all agents should start to have a look at. I don't know how it is in your office, Eryn, but we still have a lot of people that just don't participate.
Paul, that's a great point, actually, and I'd urge anybody watching this is to make sure that your Century 21 email is working. We went on quite a campaign over the last month to test the Century 21 emails to make sure that the agents were receiving them, and the agents that weren't receiving them, individual calls and emails and other ways to try and get them to at least forward them. If they're not using them, that's okay, but at least forward them to the right email address so that they're getting their leads.
Yeah, it's not a hard thing to set up, but it's always boggled my mind. It's not just Heritage and Leading Edge. Like a lot, I think you guys probably, your offices have higher adoption than most other brokerages do for online office. I've gone through and talked to many brokers that they struggle getting agents to buy into online office as a platform, which is, again, like a strange thing because it's free. And I mean, it's provided to you by Century 21. Presumably, that's one of the reasons that you'd want to sign up with Century 21 in the first place. So, yeah, and also, too, the other thing I always thought was very strange as well. You'll see agents that aren't using their Century 21 email even from a professional standpoint. Like, yeah, you should be forwarding it to something regardless of what email you're using. But if I was an agent working for Century 21, I'd probably want to use, Linas.Kilius at century21.ca or whatever my email address would be, because it just looked more professional as well. So is there a specific reason that people aren't using all that? Is it just they just don't have the time, they don't understand it? Like, is there something that you guys might have as advice to these agents that aren't using it, why they should?
Sure. So I'll chime in on that one. So I think that for a lot of people, we live in a world where there's millions of things coming at them, and they're always looking for new and magic pills, and really they need to be looking at the basics. And the basics of email communication are that you need to actually answer it. It's as silly as having a phone or putting an ad in with a phone number that you don't answer. That's what agents are doing. I talked to one just the other day and had sent a lead to them and asked them, why they didn't respond. And they said, well, I've never checked my Century 21 email. So this agent's been with us for about 3 months. So I signed on to it, and she had 685 incoming emails. And when you start looking at those, quite a number of them are actually leads. So everybody should be, taking the time to log in, forward it, as Linus says, even if you don't want to use it, at least forward it so that you're not missing those. And the other thing that agents don't realize is that the Century 21 website and their website that they have is attached, and the only way they can get leads is through their Century 21 email address. So it's imperative that they all do that.
And it only takes a couple minutes too. Like, I've done it for agents in the past. Like, I mean, it's beyond the scope of what our company does at Homeania, but we've done it for agents in the past, set up a forwarding for them. It takes no time at all. It's just a matter of logging into online office one time and plugging in your forwarding email address. And like Paul says, like, if you're not doing this, you might be losing out on deals left, right, and center too. These leads could be potentially thousands of dollars you're losing out on. So,
If any of the agents currently have or are listening to this and currently have a Hotmail or even a Gmail or Yahoo, it's not as professional as having a branded email too. So I'm suggesting, you don't see a lot of professionals out there in terms of their businesses. You hate to use Donald Trump as an example. Well, would you be Donald Trump at hotmail.com, right? It wouldn't be Justin Trudeau at hotmail.com. So a lot of the big agents out there, they're going to have their branded emails. So it's important, and that gives you one right off the bat with a Century 21 branded email.
Yeah, for sure. So what should agents be doing other than online office to improve their leads generation then too? Do you guys have any suggestions for them? I mean, there's tons, like Paul was saying too, you get bombarded by different strategies and information and like techniques you can apply to improve your business. Are there any kind of key ones? Like, if let's say you set your new agent, you set up online office, you get it kind of humming, you got your email and everything set up. What's the next step? Where should you go from there? How about we start with that?
I guess. Go ahead. I'm going to go ahead. Yeah. So, I think that when we look at lead conversion, this is a whole other topic. Agents a lot of times are looking at the quantity and number of leads that they can generate, and they don't have a system to actually take those leads and incubate them and turn them into transactions. So you really need to look at the entire process. And I can talk a little bit more about what we do in terms of lead incubation, but that's also a very important part of it. I think that agents, in a lot of cases, will buy leads from unbranded websites. And, it's important, rules and regulation wise, that if you're, creating a website for yourself and it's unbranded, it can't send leads just to you. So it has to be something that is sending it to a multitude of agents. But I think that that's a good way to get started. The process of trying to incubate leads is first by starting to get that tap flowing, and then learn how to do that and to really capitalize on it.
So what are good sources for that tap then? Let's start trying to get the flow of leads first in our discussion. Then we can talk a little bit. We'll delve into incubation because that's very important, obviously, converting the leads. But yeah, like if you're starting out too, like maybe you don't know where to get these leads from. I guess you can buy them, like you said, from unbranded websites or services that provide just like lead purchasing in bulk. Is that like the best way to go? Is there better ways to do it? Should you try and maybe develop leads organically somehow? Eryn, why don't we give that one to you there?
Yeah, I mean, I've done it many different ways. So we'll talk about purchasing leads, and there's a lot of different opinions on purchasing leads, and I don't think purchasing leads is a bad idea. Like Paul has said, the key is converting them, I think, is what he's probably going to get to there. But if you purchase the leads, you have to be responding to those leads within the first 5 minutes. And again, we're getting ahead of ourselves, but there are different. Okay, we'll go to purchasing different companies that offer them. There's different systems out there that can offer 10 qualified leads per month for $300 a month, for example. Do you want qualified leads, or would you rather spend? I know somebody who spent $3,000 a month and guaranteed about 200 leads per month, but they're not qualified. So, it depends on what you want to spend and if it be qualified. And there's lots of companies out there that offer them. Just Google. There's tons of them. But it's all in how much time you want to spend with them and about conversions. In terms of your own website, which you could start doing from an organic standpoint listings are gold. And the reason why we get leads from our Century 21 site is Century 21 is such a big, powerful domain. And our site is, all our sites are connected to that. So anytime we have listings on our sites, which we can use through the IDX system, as Paul mentioned, people are searching those listings. And if they just happen to land on your site, you're going to get a lead from that. So,
right, well, let's talk about, go back to the online office bit too, because I'm not sure if a lot of agents are aware, but the way that online office works for lead tracking is if you're the initial property that gets landed on, or if you're sending people to like the listing search through your individual web page on online office kind of tags that user as being attached to you as your lead. So any time they try and contact an agent or book a showing or whatever, any of the contact forms, it will go directly to whomever sent it in. I'm assuming, I don't know, but like, is this a strategy that both you implemented, both your offices, trying to get agents to try and like pipe people into their agent branded web pages too, to make sure that they have those leads tagged? Is that something that either of you guys do? Paul, maybe?
Sure, and I'll talk on that for a second. So I think that you need to look at the lead generation process tied in completely with your website. So agents just look at lead generation, but it is a complete process. So number one, you have to have, other than listing data, you have to have quality information on your website. You have to develop a strategy that you don't just have people searching online and finding your website, but it needs to be on all of your marketing material. You need to be, sending emails to people and suggesting to them to pop onto your website, provide them information with links to your website. So there's all kinds of things that we can be doing as agents to generate traffic on our website. And even when you look at old school real estate, one of our top agents is very involved in the Unionville community, and she will do a Santa Claus parade event in December, and following that event, you can see a spike in her website traffic where she may be averaging 400 a day, and it goes to 4,000 a day for a few days following an event like that. So it really needs to be looked at as a complete package. It's not just spend money to generate leads, but it is spend time and effort to have a complete website presence, and part of that presence is ultimately to generate your leads.
Yeah, and ironically, we actually talked about this, I think I remember it was last episode or a couple episodes ago, in which we did a big segment on agent websites and kind of like having that full package, a full marketing package to go along with your website to generate traffic and get that kind of exposure as well. We've talked a lot about trying to get these leads. It's inevitable. I've been putting off talking about the incubation side of things, but you know what? Let's just talk about it now because it is so important about this. So if you've got leads coming in, even if you've got one lead coming, what's the best way to handle it? Eryn mentioned responding to it within the first 5 minutes is important. I've always heard that too. The faster you can respond to an incoming lead, the higher the percentage chance of conversion is. Is it simple as that? Just respond to leads as fast as possible, or is there more to it than that? So Eryn, why don't we start with you, since you talked about the 5-minute kind of rule, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I've obviously experienced it, but also seen all the articles and people have done some studies, and they say, yeah, if you respond to the lead within the first 5 minutes, 87% more likely that the lead will be engaged, and you'll be able to convert it. And it goes down to 25% or even less within the first 10 minutes, and then it goes off to right to like 2% chance if you 5 hours later, sort of thing. So if they're not engaged at the time looking for houses, you don't talk to them during that time, chances are they won't want to talk to you later. They'll just see it as maybe as a solicitation more than anything else. So yeah, I mean, contacting them within the first 5 minutes, and then of course trying to get engaged to get an appointment, and there's different obviously techniques to do that and different scripts that people use, and there's a bit of an art form, and you have to have that type of personality. And I just find the people that convert the best leads aren't necessarily the best, say the friendliest agents or anything. It's just it's the old sort of car salesperson type personality that I find really works real well on the phone, because they're quick and they're quick-witted and they know what to say next, and they've got their scripts and dialogues and all the rest of it nailed down. And you'd be surprised how quickly some of these agents that are really experienced with it can turn somebody over into a good lead.
How about you, Paul? Do you have any tricks or tips for agents trying to convert on those leads when they come in?
Yeah, so I guess I'll talk about it more from the standpoint of a process as opposed to tips and tricks.
Sure.
So at Leading Edge, what we do is in order for our agents to qualify for leads that we generate as a company, we actually put them through 18 weeks of a training program which teaches them how to basically qualify those leads and turn them into an appointment, as Eryn said, and also then how to present to them when they actually get in front of them. And we actually do not hand out leads to any agents that haven't gone through that process. And then on top of that, when they've gone through that 18-week program, then they come in and sit with me, and I videotape their buyer presentation. And if they don't pass the test, they don't qualify for leads. And I bring this point up because, a lot of times people will spend money generating leads before they have any clue on how to manage or incubate those leads. I had one agent spend $800 a month on driving people to her website, and her website was the worst website you ever would see. And she averaged, I know it's not possible to average less than 1 page per viewer, but somehow she had 0.8 pages per viewer. I don't know if they just almost got there but didn't get there. So the idea is that you need to have quality through the whole process. And what we teach, and we use a trainer, Kathleen Black, to teach that program. I think we've had I guess 75 of our agents go through that buyer training and lead incubation program, and we've only had 38 of them that have actually passed and now qualify for leads. But it's so important because there's many agents that are generating their own leads, but they don't have a system. They don't have a set way to go about it. And when you look at, spending $10,000, let's say, to get 10 appointments, so $1,000 an appointment, and you spend all that money and you have a batting average of 2 out of 10. So now you spent $10,000 to do 2 pieces of business and you make $16,000. So that whole equation changes if you become a professional and can close at an 8 out of 10 ratio. Now you spend $10,000 to get 10 appointments. You close on 8 of them, you make $64,000. So $64,000 for 10 is a doable business. Still not the best ratio, but doable, and certainly much better than 10 for 16. So I think that it is that entire process that they have to be taught from the brokerage level, but also from their own standpoint. They have to delve into a system, they have to make it their own, and they have to take it to mastery. And too many agents are always looking for the next best thing or the quickest way to do things instead of taking something and owning it. So when we look at the best way to do it, you really just need to look at a way and then master that way. And then you're going to have a lot better results than if you keep flip-flopping around doing all kinds of different things.
So one of the great things about working at a brokerage that's a large brokerage that has these training programs and such in place is that you have access to it. A lot of agents wouldn't, especially if they're working at a smaller brokerage. Is there any sort of resources they can go to other than maybe other agents or the broker that they have or managers they have at their offices to improve their conversion rates? You mentioned a trainer. Are there any good trainers you have that you can suggest, or any programs out there that are more publicly available, I guess, that they could use?
Sure. I'll just follow up on that one quick. So yeah, Kathleen Black is why we selected her. And at Leading Edge, we're always trying to look at the best trainers. She doesn't just work for us. She runs, I guess, Kathleen Speaks training program. She's got a summit in November down in Niagara-on-the-Lake. Where she's teaching all of these techniques, and it's really open to any agent. We have, of course, invited agents from other Century 21 offices are more than welcome to attend these programs at our office. A lot of brokerages aren't comfortable with that, and that's fine. But they are available outside of our office as well. And anybody that's interested, we certainly will send them out her contact information. So yeah, I think it's available out there for everybody. I just went to a Craig Proctor seminar a couple of weeks ago because we're always looking at ways, and they certainly have a lot of different ways to to incubate and deal with leads. I think that they do, for my liking, a little bit too much false and misleading type of advertising, so I don't actually recommend them. But they're an organization that are doing all kinds of things to teach you how to generate leads and also how to incubate them. So all these programs are good to use.
What do you think, Eryn? How about your opinions on getting better at incubating leads?
I think it's number one. Like Paul's hit the nail on the head. Number one, it is the number one thing you have to do, and you have to be prepared for. There's no sense in going out and spending the money if you're not prepared to know how to handle the lead that comes in. It's just it's throwing your money out the window. Might as well just tear that $100 bill up and throw it away, because that's what'll end up happening. And it's true. It's 100% true. I think it's very important to get that training.
Yeah, so it's obviously very good advice then. So it's like, I like how Paul used the analogy of a batting average too. Like you can get up to the plate as many times as you want, but if you're not going to hit the ball, you're never going to get home, I guess. So so number of leads is important, but so is being able to make sure you can convert them, because leads, as you guys both have mentioned, can be very expensive to purchase or generate in the first place. So let's maybe move along here to the next topic. You guys have briefly mentioned different kind of ways of generating leads. A couple of them were, I think one of you mentioned Google ads at one point. I know we've talked about in the past Facebook advertising as well. Do either of you in your experience find that either of these techniques work? Maybe we'll start with Eryn this time. Eryn, do you have any suggestions on Google or Facebook ads? Are those good ways to generate leads traditionally?
I prefer them, to be honest with you. I know it's easier sometimes to purchase the advertisement because there's a little less work involved. But if you can take the time and have a bit of the know-how to, it can be less expensive. So you can pay half as much for twice as much in terms of leads. So Facebook's I'm a big fan of Facebook because it's you can market the audience a lot better. In terms of geographic locations by language. You could do that on Google too, but maybe not quite as direct as Facebook. You can go right on to just people that are interested in bunny rabbits. I mean, it's as target marketed as you can make it, and as well, it's very visual, so you can have a lot of nice, big picture of a house and list of bungalows for sale under 400,000 or something like that. So I find Facebook's good. It's got a great analytics program, so you can find out who's engaging, whether it's the female, male, what age, demographics, what religions, all the rest, so you can start to target on those. So I found Facebook very, very good, and I've used it in the past. I think, give you some. I've had many people come to me and say, listen, I want to generate leads. And I said, listen, I can get you 100 leads next week. That's not the issue. We'll go back to the whole conversion thing, but generating leads. And if I was going to go to my first source in terms of generating like 20 good leads next week, it would be Facebook. That's just my opinion, though.
How about you, Paul? I know you've dabbled in both of these as well. So what does your experience been like?
Absolutely, and I agree with Eryn as well that Facebook is probably a little bit more of a targeted lead, and you've got lots of flexibility in terms of how you deal with that. Google advertising also works. It's interesting because you can really direct both of those types of advertising to the actual type of client that you want or the type of area that you want. So there's a lot of flexibility there. And, it's interesting that we try to lead by example. So the other thing that we do at Leading Edge is we actually take the leads that we generate, and we have a couple of full-time client care managers that then incubate those leads, and we give leads to our agent, and it's an actual appointment. It's a buyer appointment with that client. And, it's interesting because a couple of my top agents say, oh, Paul, you're competing with me, right? And I said, well, first of all, you're not doing any online advertising, so I don't think that's competing with you. But the other thing is that what we're really trying to do is lead by example. So last year, we as a company spent $75,000 on online lead generation. And we did 130 transactions with that online lead department, using 2 full-time people to incubate the leads and develop that business. And really what we're trying to do is we're trying to get our agents to look at how it is that we do this, to sit in with the lead incubation team, the client care managers, and if we can get 100 of our agents to each spend $10,000, well, then that's $1 million in advertising. So that's ultimately what we want to do, but I think that it's important for a brokerage to lead by example and show the way. Because a lot of times people will spend a few $100s, but that's not enough to quantify things and figure out, what it is that you need to do. And you need to constantly tweak this stuff.
Yeah, and I know you both know this very well, but it's always hard to get agents to spend money, especially when you can't see the money coming back right away too. So this is obviously something you want to, it's investing in your business. And I think a lot of agents kind of miss that perspective on things. And if it is something that I guess you want to make sure you get your conversion rate up first to make sure that formula that we talked about before works. But then once you do have a good batting average, I guess spending more money to generate those leads effectively, can definitely be a good way to reap the rewards in the long run. So some of the big takeaways from today's show, I'm just going to start wrapping it up a little bit here. And I've learned a lot about, lead strategy as well. But it sounds like before you even start spending a lot of money getting these leads, the first big thing to do is make sure you're good at converting them. Because if you can't convert them, you're just throwing your money away. So make sure you get some good training, talk to your broker, talk to your manager, maybe find some external trainers outside of the brokerage system, get your conversion rate up, and then that's the time to start spending money on leads. Am I right, guys? Is that the way to go about it then?
Absolutely.
I'm seeing nodding heads. That's a good thing. So I didn't miss the point. Hopefully everyone else watching isn't missing the point as well. Okay, so we'll just wrap up the show here then. So if you like the show, subscribe to our show on Stitcher, iTunes, Google Play, or wherever you find your podcasts online. And please don't forget to leave us a 5-star review on those sites. You can watch this and past shows at spotlight.century21.ca/podcast. If you need to reach us, you can email us anytime at podcast@homeania.com. That's podcast at HOM as in Mary, EAN as in Nancy, IA.com. So this podcast was brought to you by the Spotlight Marketing Program, an exclusive marketing package available only to Century 21 agents in Canada. Spotlight provides agents with a comprehensive internet marketing strategy for their listings. We provide high-quality HDR photography, stunning HD video tours, a cutting-edge responsive website, and an extensive advertising system that'll help sell your listings faster, sell them for more money, impress your clients, and generate leads. Find out why so many top agents are using Spotlight by visiting spotlight.century21.ca today. And if I'm not mistaken, Paul actually ordered one for this Friday, so we're going to do a shoot for one of his homes coming up here this Friday. So everybody, thanks for coming out. Thanks for watching the show. Paul, thanks for guesting on our show. Everybody,
my pleasure.
Have a great week.